not Monday, but Tuesday, January 14th, 2025, meeting of the Westfield, Washington Township Advisory Plan Commission. If staff could confirm the presence of a quorum.
Mr. Bungelfist?
Present.
Mr. Horke?
Here.
Mr. Khan? Here. Dr. Keen?
Sorry, here.
Thank you.
Not Dr. King, Mr. Khan. Sorry.
Okay. Dr. Keen, noted as absent. Ms. Carlson? Mr. McCarty?
Here.
Mr. Mooney?
Here.
Mr. Neal?
Present.
And Mr. Woodard? Okay, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. This being the first meeting of the year, we have election of officers for the Advisory Planning Commission to elect. We have two of them to elect, President being first.
Make a motion to elect Mr. Mike Neal as Advisory Planning Commission President.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Are there any further nominations, or shall we close the nominations? Nominations for president are closed. Yeah, I was just thinking through whether or not we don't have multiple candidates, so no reason to make any other statements. So, everybody in favor of electing Mike Neal as president for 2025, respond by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? You are elected, man. Have a gavel. Use it well.
I appreciate the confidence of my fellow commissioners, and I want to really honor President Emeritus Robert Horke for his continued service to this board. He's not going anywhere, but your steady leadership has been incredibly helpful to me and this board over the years that you've been elected or appointed, and we continue to appreciate your service as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the election of vice president. Are there any nominations for that office?
I'll make a motion to nominate Billy Bunkelfist as the vice.
There's a motion by Councilor McCarty. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Khan. Any other nominations to come before the floor? Seeing and hearing none, nominations are closed. All in favor of the nomination of Billy Bunkelfist to be the 2025 vice president, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Bunkelfist. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of the Plat Committee. We appoint looks like two members of the Plat Committee. Staff, what information do you have for us on this? Yeah, I believe I read in the procedures that all five, there are one-year appointments. So we need to do all five, so the note is, okay.
Yep.
So yes, yeah, as you guys figured out, all five are up for reappointment, no changes. If you'd like me to give you a rundown of the different members, I'd be happy to, or I don't know how familiar you guys are in the Plat Committee membership.
I'm just aware that Mr. Horke is our appointee from this body,
Okay,
and that the other four are existent.
that is correct.
Just for the sake of, just
I'm-
for the sake
I'm-
of the record, should we state all the names?
Yeah,
and-
let's state their names and.
I don't have the list in
Are
front
they
of me.
not?
You got the list.
I'm sorry, I thought this was on the notes agenda you guys received.
Not all the names. I mean, I know the people, I just can't think of
Well,
the names off the top of my head.
All right, so we of course have Robert Horke. We have Michael Pierce.
Justin Wiley, who has been serving
Yep.
as the vice president.
Yep, Justin Wiley.
Michael Pierce from the
This is-
city
This
has
is embarrassing for
participated.
me.
Ryan Kelly
Yes, from the schools.
and Haley Morgan.
Yes, citizen.
So is there a motion to appoint the five members as a slate to the Plat Committee for a one-year term?
Make a motion to appoint the aforementioned slate to a one-year term.
Motion by Mr. Bunkathis. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mooney. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Appointments are made. Last item on the appointment section is to the Board of Zoning Appeals. My understanding is while this is a 2-year appointment, it is of the seat and not the person. When we elected Dr. Keene, he was serving the last year of that term, and so we would be appointing this person for another 2 years. I was not expecting Dr. Keene to not be here, though it sounds like he's in a better place than we are, being warm. And so I would assume that we would nominate him once again. So there be a nomination for this.
I'm sorry, is there any way that we could get any insight as to just high-level overview of what that entails?
I would
For the new ones that are here.
happily give that because I also sit
He's
on
on
the
the BZA also.
BZA.
Thank you.
And you all can correct me, but I mean, just essentially at the end of the day, it's the Board of Zoning Appeals. More often than not, it's just when there's underlying variances inherent to a PUD or some level of underlying requirement within the zoning that comes before that body.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Miss anything about right?
Yeah, that's
It is.
pretty
I have
accurate
heard all
description.
staff say it's their favorite board that exists. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Is there a nomination for our appointment to the BZA? I would assume that we can make an appointment. I'll look to our attorney.
Yeah.
You can, and when is the next BZA meeting?
Next month, yeah.
So you have a couple options here then. Since your BZA meeting is not scheduled for another month, if you would like to, you can wait until Dr. King is back and then do it there, or you can proceed at this point.
Okay.
Because the other thing is he will serve until the replacement is named as well.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion to table that, or can that be done administratively?
Cleanest record is to table it since you have advertised that you're going to make that appointment tonight, so.
Okay.
Make a motion to table our appointment to the BZA.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Victor McCarty, second by Mr. Khan. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to announce any changes to the agenda, which I do not believe that there are. So we'll move to the approval of the meeting minutes from our previous meeting, December 16th, 2024. Is there a motion regarding the previous minutes?
Make a motion to approve the December 16th, 2024 minutes.
Motion by Mr. Bunkathis. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Horkay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move into the consent agenda portion of our evening. We have one item there, 2412-DDP-38, Vita of Westfield. Any conversation or questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Moved by Mr. Mr. McCarty. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Horkay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, moving right along. And I guess before we move any forward, Kevin, I did not take a roll call vote on that, and I think at our discussions that we're going to continue to make roll call votes in the future. That's kind of still where we are. So from here on out, for the non-quick items such as that, we're going to continue to do that precedent. Next item on the agenda under our items of business is Ambrose on Main, 2411-PUD-26. We'll turn first to staff to give us their report.
Yep. And just before we do the report, typically we run through the rules of procedure. We can do that.
Yeah,
Now
I
it's-
skipped it because it wasn't on there.
Yeah, no
But
worries.
please, that would be
Good.
wonderful.
We'll get these housekeeping items out of the way. So for this evening, we do have one item of business and a public hearing items. So for items that require a public hearing, tonight's meeting has the following structure. The department will summarize the petition. Then the petitioner will then be given up to 15 minutes to present to the Plan Commission. The president will then open a public hearing. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to speak. Those representing a group will be given 5 minutes to speak. Only one member of the group will be given 5 minutes to speak. For efficiency purposes, we ask that those representing a group speak first. The public hearing will be closed when all interested members of the audience have had a chance to be heard and all emails received during the meeting have been provided to commission members. The petitioner will then be given 10 minutes to respond to comments without interruption. The commission will follow with any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the petition. This may include additional discussion with the petitioner. And then for items of business, so for items that do not require a public hearing, the department will summarize the petition and highlight any changes or modifications since the item was last before the Plan Commission. The department will also describe what action, if any, is necessary to be taken. The petitioner will then be given up to 15 minutes to present any changes to the Plan Commission. Following that, the commission will then act upon the petition. We also just wanted to cover a few general rules of conduct. Please do not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, then we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time. If you must answer them, then please quietly exit the room. If you're attending in person and wish to speak in regard to a petition scheduled for a public hearing, then please line up along the west wall once the public hearing is opened. Please sign the speaker sheet as you approach the podium to speak. For efficiency purposes, we ask that those representing a group speak first. During your comments, please state your name and address into the microphone. For the record, we ask that you do not repeat previously stated comments. Your presentation will be timed, and you will be advised when there's 30 seconds remaining. If you are not attending in person, comments regarding a petition, they should be emailed to planners@westfield.in.gov with the petition name or number included in the subject line. Those comments will then be forwarded to the Plan Commission members and the petitioner. We would like to remind everyone to please speak directly into the microphones. Your comments can be put onto the record. Also, please mute your microphone when not speaking. If you come up to the podium to speak, please ensure that the microphone is on, as indicated by the green light at the base of the microphone. With that wraps up our housekeeping items for some general rules of conduct and rules of procedure. We can proceed on with the introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Weston. Good evening. For the record, Lauren Gillingham Teague with the Community Development Department. The item before you tonight is the recommendation vote for the proposed Ambrose on Main PUD. This is located at the northeast corner of 32 and Northeast Street, right where there is a new roundabout planned to be constructed by INDOT. The development will be tied to the site plan, landscape plan, and architectural elevations included in the PUD, and the project must be developed in substantial compliance with these exhibits. This has been in front of you a few times, so I won't go on for a very long time. There have been no changes since the last time this was in front of you at the workshop meeting. Yeah, the petitioner is here to answer any questions, as am I. Should you have any? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Would the petitioner have anything they'd like to say prior to questions?
No, thank you, Lauren. Thank you, members of the commission. I appreciate your due diligence and really excited to be considered for this approval.
Excellent. Any conversation, questions, discussions?
Yeah, just
McCarty.
question regarding somewhat of a update for the Penn Street extension. I believe something was agreed upon at Board of Public Works, and just what is kind of the timeline process with that, since that was kind of a larger part of feedback from the neighbors, if they might be listening in on that timeline schedule.
Yeah, and I think if you're referring to the order of operations, that'll clearly be one of the first things that we do in an effort to immediately alleviate traffic concerns and also potentially the conflict with State Road 32 and roundabout improvements. So that'll probably be the first thing. It won't be fully constructed up to finished city standards. We'll do that at the end, but we will make sure that's accessible early in the project, including all construction traffic will enter in off of E Street.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the commission? Otherwise, would entertain a motion on the recommendation to council.
Make a motion to approve 2411 PUD 26, recommendation to council.
Motion by Mr. Bunkefus. Is there a second?
I'll second it. It's actually a favorable recommendation.
Favorable recommendation,
Approval.
thank you.
Second by Mr. Horkay. Is there any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Mr. Mooney,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Woodard, he's absent, Mr. Bunkefus,
Yes.
and Mr. Horkay.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes, and we have a favorable recommendation to council. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congrats.
No other items of business. We'll move to the public hearing item that we have this evening, 2501-PUD-01, Grand Millennium Center. Before we get into the staff presentation, just want to note for anyone that is online that if you do have comments to make during the public hearing, that you would email planners@westfield.in.gov, and we can get that rolling for you when we open the public hearing. Otherwise, staff, the floor is yours.
Yep, and I will go ahead and, yeah, so Ryan Collingwood is the planner on this project, but Ryan could not be here this evening, so I'll go ahead and provide just a brief introduction of this item. So thank you, President and APC members. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is a proposed amendment to the Grand Millennium Center Planned Unit Development District, in which was originally established in 2016 as Ordinance 16-51. The subject parcels make up approximately 17.1 acres and are generally located on the west side of Westfield Boulevard and generally south of the new library development and north of the Anna Kendall Drain. The amendment proposal is to incorporate a new development site plan and character exhibits into the planned unit development. The amendment request includes 3 new buildings, 2 of which will have mixed-use components, as well as other associated site improvements. In addition, the request outlines increasing the maximum unit count to permit an additional 20 housing units on the real estate. The item is in front of you this evening for its public hearing in front of the Advisory Plan Commission. If the APC aligns after discussions tonight, staff recommends waiving the workshop requirement for this petition. David George of CRG Residential is present this evening for the item's public hearing. He plans on making a presentation this evening following the public hearing. With that, we'll turn it back over to the president. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, our petitioner. You're welcome to come and make your presentation. Welcome.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. There we go. All right, thank you for your time. My name is David George, excuse me, and I'm with CRG Residential. And as was mentioned by Weston, this was originally zoned in 2016. There was an amendment that we did in 2023 for some of the uses for the alignment and where they're located. I know Mr. Horkay probably remembers some of those discussions. I think Councilor McCarty now was involved in those. What I'm here before you is exactly what we proposed then, the uses, everything else. The only thing that we're doing is, as we've gone through and worked with the new mayor's staff over the last year, we've created a design, which you saw a little bit of, we'll have up here in a minute. And there's a couple changes, just a little bit with the site plan, but then more importantly was just an additional 20 units. So we're here tonight simply for those additional 20 units. But because of that, I wanted to take a step back with several new members, kind of introduce us as a company, introduce some of the other projects that we've done in the marketplace, which will kind of be somewhat of a character exhibit for what we'd like to propose in your community. So that's the reason for me to kind of back up and show you some of these things with the presentation, even though it's only asking for 20 additional units. So real quick, just go through our project team and some of our experience and then what we'd like to propose. We'll go into a little bit more detail on the site plan here in a second. Real quick, these are just some of our people. The top left is Chris Reed. Started the company 30 years ago, just out of a three-bedroom house here in Hamilton County, and it grew and grew, and now we're about 200 people. And we do projects anywhere, obviously mostly in Indiana and Hamilton County, but also we do projects pretty much east of the Mississippi, all the way down to Texas and Florida on a daily basis. I wanted to share a couple projects that I think will have some character examples for what we'd like to propose in your community. So what we will do, obviously with this approval, pending approval, then we'll go back and we'll go through the hardcore design, then we'll be back probably for this body later in the year for more final plans, but that will have a Westfield flavor. I wanted to share some of the other projects that worked in those communities to kind of give you an idea as we start to work through this over the next number of months. So this is one in downtown Fishers. The most important thing for Fishers when we were working with them on this, let me see, I think the mouse, there we go, was to preserve the two existing buildings that were along what was going to become the Nickel Plate Trail. And then we have done that. On top of that, they wanted to have several outdoor spaces, which I'll show you some pictures here in a minute for how that worked. And I'm happy to say that both of these buildings are now have new life. We've got a bagel shop in the first one, and then the other one is Pennant Beach, one of the candle makers. You guys probably don't know that, but it's one of those things where they all get together and they kind of make the candles, and it's a neat little event. And that's well underway. And then right next to this, I've got a more recent picture, and that is a Cafe Patachou. The other thing, let me back up real quick. These are two different buildings, but we wanted to make sure that the interior space was all connected, and we inserted a bridge, so you can see this bridge in between the two sides, so that all the different outdoor spaces are connected, and whether you're in one building or the other, you can get back and forth. This is the new Cafe Patachou that I mentioned a minute ago. So we worked with the city of Fishers on various uses, and they came on board, and this is now open as of about a week or so ago. And then also we like to do fun things and good things for the community, be a good steward and a good welcome partner. So we worked on a nice mural. The city of Fishers was doing different murals along the trail. So they did an RFP. We kind of piggybacked on that. We had 22 respondents. And believe it or not, this, really no changes on this, but this is what one respondent put together. It's kind of a nice, fun thing for Fishers as far as kind of the past, the present, and the future. So these are the sorts of things in our project in your community. We don't know exactly what those would be. Those are the things as you start to get into construction and more design that they'll come about. The next one was in Greenwood, Indiana. So if you go where their town hall is about a block south, there was an old school. This is the old gym here in the middle. And this was an RFP, and we were selected to work with the city. So we have multiple buildings along, this is Madison Avenue. So north is actually to the right. And this was a reuse of the old school gym. So they tore down the rest of the school, kept the gym, and then they built another building on the north part of it. So now it's a nice community center for all the Greenwood residents to be able to use. So again, we worked hand in hand to create a project that would get the different things that Greenwood wanted, and those have taken shape, and it's now open. So you can see a little bit. Also, I wanted to mention at the upper left, this is an interior courtyard. This is very similar to what we will be presenting later in the year when we get more to final designs in your community. So we have a nice pool, kind of what we call an outdoor kitchen. We've got a lot of little game areas. So you've got a putting green, you've got cornhole and some other things around that interior courtyard. So provide some life to that. And then at the bottom right, you can see where that school is. So this is the old school gymnasium and the new community center building that put together became kind of the middle part of that particular project. Next one real quick is Newport, Kentucky. So this is south of Cincinnati on the south side of the river. And this is a project that if the lower left picture, if you go about a block to the north, this is the Ohio River, and that's the Cincinnati skyline right there. So that just lets you know where that's located. The reason it's called Academy on 4th is in the Newport community, this particular lot has been used for educational purposes since about the 1850s. So it's one where when we met originally with the city, we started talking about the old school, and the town manager said, well, that's a new school because I'm of an age where the old school was torn down. But the main purpose was it was used as an academy or education for these school children over all those years. The reason I bring that up too is that if you see the main building here, and then we've got the old Carnegie Library, which many communities have, when this was redeveloped, there was a little retaining wall that was all the way around it, but it was an old 1850s type retaining wall with old big stones and small stones, and it was all put together. So we took those and we gave them back to the city, so different residents were able to come and reuse those. But we also reused it here in the lower left. It's kind of hard to see here, but we used all those stones to recreate the central fireplace in the central part of this area. So in a way, we kind of gave a nod to what the community was using before. And that middle fireplace, which everybody uses in the property, they can see some of the old merging with the new. And then one last one real quick. This is Fisher's 96th Street. If you haven't been by there recently, everybody hated the Michigan left, so now that's a roundabout. And the main thing that we're doing is this main spine road, when we worked with the mayor and council and staff, was to create something that would connect 96th Street all the way to Allisonville Road. So it's for rent, it's for sale, but the main thing is you can start to see on the left-hand side is 125 acres of parkland. 25 acres was out of the floodplain. We donated that to the city. That's becoming, we're gonna have the restrooms and things like that, but then there's another 100 acres of paths that will connect another heritage park in Fishers to the north of that, Carmel and Fishers, and I think the townships and the county work together. There's a pedestrian bridge being built right now so that any residents in the area will be more of a regional draw, so they'll be able to walk from one park to the other, including across the river. Again, I just point these things out so that as we get more into design, we try to find things that are good win-wins for the various communities that we work in. Let's get closer to home. This is the obviously the Westfield Millennium PUD. So like I mentioned before, this was zoned in 2016. We did an update in 2023 simply for this upper left-hand area. As the library was coming in, this is where there was a box for the residential, and we worked to have the residential here along Westfield Boulevard. So we're simply changing the site plan, which is more of a bubble diagram at that time, and have the residential, I think my mouse went away, there it is, along Westfield Boulevard, and then along 31, the council and the planning commission at the time wanted to have that be non-residential, be commercial. And you'll see on our plan here in a minute, we're adhering to all of that. But again, we've got the MOB, mouse keeps falling, the MOB, which is in construction now, and then your library, which is opened obviously in the last year. I just want to use the next couple slides to kind of share a couple things more about the plan. So we've got two different multi-use buildings. These are both 4 stories. The first one is proposed to have a parking facility and then have units all the way around it, and I'll have some elevations for you here in a second. And the main reason for the site plan change is this is where the pond is for the library and the MOB. We're proposing to have the building here. We want it to be as close to the energy of Park Street, but then have one single pond so that you get more efficiencies with that. And then we have a second building here that the first level would be parking, and then 3 levels above that. Both of these have retail. We've got retail on the first level here, a little bit along the corners, on this corner, and then at this corner. And then we've also worked with economic development staff. They wanted to make sure that there are some other amenities that we have to make this a reason to come to, not just drive through. So when you think about this location, as you gentlemen know, it's really main and main when it comes to your trail system. You've got the Midland Trace, and you have to go south a little bit, get across 31, but you're real close to the Monon. So this is kind of that kind of middle area. If you're using the different trails, this might be a spot to be kind of a little way station to kind of gather your steam as you go the rest of the way. So that's why we're going to be designing a nice hardscape and lawnscape here with bike racks and all sorts of things so that you can start to use that in between the trails. And then we've got another amenity here in the middle. Maybe there's a fishing pier, some other things, but we want to make sure that this pond is an amenity. We've also got a path that goes all the way around it that doesn't quite show up, and we're planning to have exercise stations on those too. So this will be a reason to come maybe just to this area and utilize this space where before it might not have been utilized for as many purposes. And then we've also been talking to the current MOB operator. They are interested in maybe a second phase, so that's probably what's going to go here. But the main thing is all of this, all of the uses and all the locations of those uses adhere to what was presented and approved previously in the PUD. The only difference is we're asking for the 20 additional units, which is just the way the plan is starting to show now. The next one, basically the same thing here on the site plan. Let me go to the elevations for you. Again, I just wanted to show some character examples and then elevations after that. This is really a zoom in on what I showed you for Greenwood. So these are the sorts of things that you would expect to see when we come back with a final design. For the pool, a lot of the amenities that you would have. And the reason we put these in is everything that we do for the long term. We want to be long-term holders, long-term partners with the community, so we want to have all the different things in there that maybe you want to have at day one, but we want to make sure that 5 and 10 years down the road, these have the amenities that people want to still come to. A couple things here on the upper left, I just want to make a note. A lot of our properties, we have interior co-working spaces. We've gone beyond that because we've seen that in other markets we've gone to. So we have co-working spaces, but then also we'll have formal offices. At 96 in Allisonville, we have actual separate offices, just like you would at your day job, where you can either rent or you can use those for the day. We've got stand-up and sit-down desks, so just like you would in your main office. So again, it's those sorts of amenities that make people want to come over the long term. Real quick, this is if we're standing at the library. I know this probably should be a library parking lot, looking south. So this is the corner where we'll have all the retail on the north side. We'll have opportunities for outdoor seating. The retail will kind of swing around to the other side, and we've been working with staff, economic development staff, on kind of a paseo in between. So if you come to the garage, you've got a quick way to get in and out, mainly to hit the path that's along Westfield Boulevard. And if we go a little bit further south, this is the other side of that building, and then this is the second building looking to the west. Before this was done, we started to have conversations with the other MOB operator. So this is essentially, when this is done, you'll see the other MOB here, just like we showed on the site plan. But for this purpose, I've got the two main buildings that we have. And I think that is it. So again, I'll kind of pull up the site plan for any questions that might come up. The main thing, just in summary, is, again, we're asking for 20 additional units. We're also asking that the site plan that we've shown you be incorporated into the PUD in place of the bubble plan. And since later in the year we'll have more formal designs and go through things then, but it really adheres to all the previous approvals from 2023 as far as the uses, where those uses are. And then we had a neighborhood meeting then. We also had a workshop, so we would respectfully request, if possible, to take questions now, come back with those questions for the recommending vote meeting. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. George. If there are no items from our commissioners, we will go ahead and open a public hearing. If you are here to speak this evening on the matter, you come up here to the dais and you'll sign in, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak. We will open this public hearing at 7:33. A reminder to those online that you could quickly put an email out to planners@westfield.in.gov. Do we have any, while we're waiting for anyone to come to the front, do we have anything email-wise or anyone signed up to speak?
Yeah, we have no one signed up at this time.
Okay. No one in the room?
And no emails at this
Okay. We've given sufficient notice to that. Any going once, going twice? And then I'm going to close the public hearing at the same time which we started at 7:33. Since there were no questions, I assume the developer has no answers to those questions. Any items from our commissioners, questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Horke?
The new location for the retainage
Yes, sir.
seems to be fairly obvious. There's already a creek there. That's probably where the property is low. Water is lazy and dumb. It just goes downhill, takes the path of least resistance.
That's right.
Just,
Let me share a little bit if you're asking about the
yeah,
design
I'm
of
just
that. I didn't
doing a
want to
double
cut
check
you
for
off.
understanding here that if we're taking the pond from where it is, there's sufficient fall between there and where it's needing to be so that the library and the existing office building and anything else that needs to drain there, the engineering has been at least investigated far enough that there's not going to be we have to move that somewhere else because we can't get there from here.
Perfect question, and I should have expanded on that a little bit during my presentation, but I had the same idea. I'm actually a PE, so I kind of understand that part of it. So several months ago, we got Structure Point involved, engineering firm. So they went through, we did the topo so that we can understand how the buildings lay out. And then they've done a preliminary design, but they've done a preliminary design based on the topo. The pond, as it's sized and shaped, works with everything, not just our 3 buildings, but then also the library and the current MOB. That has all been done. We had a TAC meeting, which is technically for the PUD amendment, but the surveyor's office was on that, so we kind of went back and forth a little bit. Not back and forth, but just shared with them that portion of the design, and then we followed up with them, so we'll continue to have that. But what I can confirm to you, we've done the topo, we've done the design. The shape that I show you is based on what Structure Point gave us, and it fits for all the uses that we need.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from fellow commissioners?
Yeah, jump in just real quick. First of all, you're saying of a place to drive to and not drive through. Ever since we first met a couple months ago,
Yes.
I have since used that in many a conversation. So I've kind of borrowed that from you.
There's
I
no
really
copyright
appreciate
on
that
it or
phrase.
anything, so I'm an engineer, not an attorney.
Yeah. Yeah, you should trademark it. But I also want to compliment staff for including I know Ryan's not here, but the original PUD in this to be linked. And really comparatively looking back, some of the architecture that was used as exhibits then, what you're presenting now, I know that's not really part of this, fits. So nothing out of the unusual here, and as you've previously said, you're truly only asking for an additional 20 units here, and everything else is approved uses. And if anything, you're elevating the overall scope of the project with 2 additional parking garages. And I think something that often gets forgotten is the linear park that will be used side by side here with Westfield Boulevard, but also as kind of a hub, what might be potentially a future trail system of this linear park then leading into Grand Junction Plaza. So no, I just think it's a great development, and glad to finally see things moving after almost 10 years of it being approved. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from members of the commission? Mr. Mooney?
Just one quick one. Because I wasn't on the commission before.
Yes, sir.
Public and private parking, both combination?
Yes.
Inside, outside?
Yes, sir. We're working, excuse me, we're working with the economic development staff, so there will be a public component of which anybody can come in and use the various parking spaces. But there will be, based on certain ratios, a portion that'll be just so it works for our residents. But we're definitely working with economic development staff.
Okay, appreciate it.
I just had a quick one as well, I'm sorry. In terms of the golf cart parking, how do you guys plan on handling that?
Yeah, we have that shown. I know that the city's gone to Peachtree City, Georgia, which is the well-known place. And the funny thing is, I've been at CRG 10 years. Before that, I was at Kite Realty Group, of which I did a project in Peachtree City, Georgia. And nobody's kidding when they say that's the area that they've got like more miles of areas for that. So you guys are heading in the right direction for that. Now, what I've been told by staff is that there's probably going to be some sort of trail that's going to connect right through here. So it doesn't really show up, I don't think, on this, but we're going to have a crossing here. I've also got shown right about here, golf cart parking. And then at the other end, where we do have other retail, we've got separate golf cart parking there. And then I've also got a couple areas inside the garages where we will have that portion allocated. So we are making adjustments so that as the city starts to fulfill that mission, we'll be able to serve that.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further comments or questions from fellow commissioners? Mr. Buckefast?
I'll make a quick comment and echo Councilor McCarty's sentiment. No question, it's okay, you can sit down. I just, as we stare at this point, as I stared at the old PUD versus this PUD, I just think you have enhanced the usage. I appreciate the usage. I think, the vision of the past was good, but I think this enhances it even further. So excited for it. Thank you.
All right. No further conversation. So my understanding is that the recommendation is, if it's the pleasure of the commission to waive the workshop, we will hold a recommendation until a further meeting. That's correct.
That's correct.
Based on that recommendation, was there a motion regarding the workshop?
Make a motion to waive the workshop.
Motion by Mr. McCarty. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mooney. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Mr. Mooney,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Bunkefist,
Yes.
Mr. Horke,
Yes.
and Mr. Khan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. We look forward to seeing you at a future meeting. Thank you, Mr. George.
Thank you.
You too, thank you. We have several items continued to a future meeting, which you can see there on the agenda. So hopefully we'll see those in the near future. That brings us to our reports and comments section. Any comments or conversation from Plan Commission members to each other? Seeing and hearing none. City Council Liaison, Councilor McCarty.
Yeah, this might be a record in terms of meeting to recap. But last night, we had our first city council meeting of the year. We first re-elected Councilor Patrick Tam as president, and then Councilor John Dart as our vice president for the year. We also swore in 7 new Westfield police officers, so that was really awesome to see, a good moment. And then also under miscellaneous items, Economic Development Director Janelle Fairman, she made a great presentation on just sort of the future of Grand Park, the Grand Park Development Master Plan, which is now posted online. If you go to the Economic Development webpage, you can view the presentation in full. And then under old business was Ordinance 2478, amending Fund 270, which is IT related. That was approved. And new business was creating Fund 266, for capital infrastructure improvement projects, which that is the fund we'll use going forward. That was just introduced. And then we also did have an executive session last night just discussing certain real estate, but that is all.
Any questions for Councilor McCarty? Board of Zoning Appeals, my understanding is that that meeting did not occur. So I don't believe there's an update, is there? Okay, thank you, sir. Plat Committee Liaison, Mr. Horke.
Similar. We did not meet since our last meeting, so
Understood.
report is there is no report.
No report to report. Community Development Department, any communications from staff?
Nope, nothing. Nothing this evening. Just kind of make sure you're watching your emails. We're going to be looking to schedule a couple of, at least one additional meeting. I'm looking to do a joint meeting with council here, either later this month or early next month, just to kind of. I think it's kind of a good thing to do kind of annually, just to make sure we're all moving forward and understanding kind of different roles and processes and those sorts of things. So kind of watch your email for that. I think we're going to do some sort of survey of when people can be available. So appreciate your attention to that. And then similarly, well, yeah, I think we don't have an answer yet on if we're going to have a workshop meeting next week or not. But watch your email that it may or may not end up getting canceled. So that's it from us. Happy New Year.
And just
Looking forward to good 25.
Yeah, and just one more thing. We will probably be reaching out soon to just gather everyone's most up-to-date contact information. We like to do that at the beginning of the year, so just please respond to that with your email and phone number. That way we can get a hold of everybody. So be on the lookout for that as well. But that's all.
Very good. Any other items that come before the commission? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McCarty. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Bunkefist. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, I got a babysitter till.
What's that?